Hello and welcome to FPL Mates, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2020-21 season. My name is Dan and today I've got for you a Game Week 28 buy, sell, keep, avoid video to try and help you out through this season with this flagship series on this channel. Help you out with some transfers, making the good moves, avoiding making the bad transfer decisions. And we're going to get you through. We're going to get you through the rest of the season, guys. If you do enjoy this series, please do give a big like on the video. Really helps the channel out. And of course, if you're new around here, please do consider subscribing as well. But before we get into the buy, sell, keeps, and avoids, just a quick word for the sponsor of this video. And this video is, of course, sponsored once again by OneFootball. Now, for those of you who don't know what OneFootball is, it's a great app/website for all things football. Now, I personally use the OneFootball mobile app, but they've got a great website as well. And it's really good for checking scores, checking lineups, checking stats on games, but perhaps you're not watching. With a lot of European football going on at the moment, it's really good to check the games that you're not necessarily watching. You can just check out everything all in one place. It's a great source of football news, transfer rooms and stuff like that too. So if you love football, try it out completely free. Link in the top of my description. So very quickly, buys of players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in, sells of players that you probably have but should consider removing, keeps of players you probably have and should keep in your teams, and avoids of players you probably don't have and should also avoid in your teams. So I reckon we go straight in with some buys. Let's start off with some buys as we always do. Come on guys, let's go. So I'm going to start you off with Gareth Bale. Bale was a player I spoke about quite a lot last week. I didn't actually end up putting him into my buys in my video last week just because I thought there was a slight amount of risk attached to him and I didn't want to encourage too many people to take that risk. But I did speak very positively about him all week as a transfer I was considering bringing in. Didn't do it in the end. Kind of wishing I did in many ways because wow, he's done it again. He's done it again. Absolutely fantastic. He started his last 3 games in a row now, which is really positive. Now, he's sort of in good form. Seems to be part of the plan for this Spurs team. And he made sub appearances in the previous 2 before that as well. I do think he is here to stay. And I do think now, I'm pretty confident now to go out to the masses and say, let's go for him. Let's go for him, guys. I think it's Gareth Bale time. So let's go through some stats in his past 5 games, and that does include the 2 substitute appearances in the few game weeks before his recent starts. 12 shots, 7 in the box, 6 on target, 6 key passes, 1 big chance created. He's got expected goals of 1.92. 4 actual goals, so he is massively overperforming that, and 0.91 expected assists and 2 actual assists, again massively overperforming it. So he's pretty much more than doubling his expected stats. But could that be to do with the quality of the player? We know by now Gareth Bale is a very good football player. He's got a long history of it, and it's always been about, is he going to get game time? Is he going to stay fit, not get an injury? That's kind of always been the consideration with Gareth Bale. There's never really been any doubts about the quality of the player. So this could be really good. Will he keep getting minutes? This is the thing. I think he probably will, because although we think of Gareth Bale as sometimes a player who is not very fit, the way he's not fit is because he regularly picks up injuries, not because he can't play multiple games in a row. You know, this guy's a cross-county champion in his youth. He is a super fit guy. He just gets injured fairly often. So as long as he's not injured, he can keep playing game after game after game after game, which is something that we really like for FPL. And that's kind of been our worry a little bit with Gareth Bale. Is he going to keep being able to play every single game? I do think he has the fitness for that. It's just a case of, does he get injured? He is injury prone. When he's not injured, he's a good shout, surely. Arsenal next, then Villa. You know, Villa in pretty bad form. So, you know, that is a team that we can attack a little bit. We don't need to worry too much about Villa's defence. And then Newcastle, of course, in game week 30. So that's a really nice fixture as well. And you're kind of going to want to have a couple of Spurs players for game week 29 and game week 30, in my opinion. And why not make Gareth Bale one of those players? A little bit differential, a decent price. He's an okay price. I think we can go for him, guys. So speaking of differentials, my next buy is Veltman. This is a weird one, but I thought, you know what, guys? I've not done a proper differential in a while, especially not a real budget enabler. You know, these kind of players that you can put in your team that enable you to spend your budget in other areas of the field. And I feel like Veltman covers both bases quite nicely. Very differential, really good as a budget enabler. He's kind of nailed at right wing back / right midfield, if you like. 4.3 million, so pretty much the cheapest you can get for a nailed on player that's actually likely to get you some points. And he's actually posting some really great stats for a defender. So let me go through these stats. And honestly, if a midfielder or a forward was posting these kind of stats over the past 5 games, you wouldn't be surprised. So 9 shots, 7 shots in the box. That's not bad. 1.22 expected goals, 1 actual goal, 5 key passes, 2 big chances created, and 1.08 expected assists. That's pretty decent. That really is pretty decent. It's sort of one of the best defensive stats a player can post, really. There's not really many defenders posting better stats than Veltman right now. He really is looking really quite tidy. Now, Brighton, they're still the 3rd best defence in the league according to expected stats. You know, according to expected goals, they're the 3rd best. They're actually 2nd best if you look at expected clean sheets over the past 5 games. Of course, they have massively underperformed in the last few game weeks. Before that, they were keeping clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet. So is this just a blip? Are we going to return back to what we expect from the underlying stats? That's often the case. The thing is with Brighton is they do often troll you with expected stats, but that's more about their attacking returns than the defensive returns. So I think there's something that can come of this transfer. I think it could be a good transfer. You know, what you've got at the end of the day is a guaranteed starter, 4.3 million, a good fixture against Southampton in game week 28. You know, Southampton don't even have Ings right now. Ings is injured. He's, you know, their best player by far. They've got a fantastic fixture in game week 29 versus Newcastle. You know, hardly any teams are even playing in game week 29. And Veltman actually has a good fixture in game week 29. So that's really nice as well. I just think you can't really go too far wrong with this transfer. Even if he gets you 2 points this game week, 2 points next game week, he's 4.3 million, man. Like, that's not bad as a base level. And I think he could actually do some bits. He could actually get you a decent score over these 2 game weeks. He really could. So as a short-term punt, yeah, why not? And as an enabler, someone you maybe want to sit on your bench long-term, absolutely fine as well. He's cheap enough to allow that. On to Salah as my first sell, and oh god, it's tragic, isn't it? And it's really difficult to have this conversation about Salah because Salah, you're the chosen one. You're the FPL chosen one. You've been smashing it for so many years. And now we all kind of feel a little bit disappointed by him. And you can kind of say, and a lot of you guys will be saying, oh, well, Salah, he's still the top goal scorer in the league. But at the end of the day, so what? In his last 14 games, he's had 4 goals and 0 assists in 14 games. Liverpool, kind of in the worst form that they've been in the last like 5 years. They've got Wolves next, then a blank, then Arsenal, then who cares? Because Liverpool are losing pretty much every game anyway. And I know this won't sit nicely with Liverpool fans because it happened before. You know, when I called out Robertson for, you know, that was kind of a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, he was getting like 2 points a game week for like 8 game weeks in a row, despite costing 7.5 million. But people were saying, well, but Robertson's a great player. Yes, I agree, and so is Mo Salah. He's a fantastic player, in fact, but FPL doesn't really care if a player is fantastic. FPL is kind of about form, it's about fixtures, it's about managing your budget, and I feel like Mo Salah right now is detrimental in all of those factors. I do understand the faith that people show in Salah, but how patient are you supposed to be? This is the most expensive player in the entire game. You need consistent big returns if he's going to be worth the money. If you're spending that amount of money on a player, he needs to be a captain option in your team every single game week. Doesn't matter if the fixture's good, bad, whatever. For that money, you need to be able to trust the player every single game week. And I don't. I'm sure a lot of you guys are kind of feeling, I don't trust Salah anymore. I don't think I could captain him anymore. Maybe that means it's time to actually remove him from your team because there's a lot of money to be spending on a player. Perhaps some of you might think, okay, Salah's maybe been a bit unlucky right now. Maybe he's just kind of not on it right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Salah is actually rested soon. The real crutch is that the whole idea that he's 12.5 million and you can do so much better for that money. We're talking, you know, Kane, Son, Bale, Aubameyang. These are all players that we probably really quite like the look of right now. And if Salah and the amount of budget he is holding up in your team is blocking you from those moves, then that's a very good indication that it might be time to remove him from your team. I get it if you're a little bit afraid to step away from the template. It's risky in many ways, but I do think there could be some really huge benefits for those brave enough to get rid of Salah. You know, bring in a player like Son or Gareth Bale. That could be really, really good for you. Now, my next sell is Phil Foden. Now, I was originally thinking, Dan, mate, this is a little bit risky. You're talking about a player who hasn't even played his second game in the double game week. He plays again on Wednesday. What if he gets a massive score on Wednesday? And everyone's going to say, FPL, mate, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. move on. But then I thought, no, hang on. That gives me more of a reason to tell you to sell Foden, more of a reason to warn you about Foden, because if Foden is to get a decent score this game week against Southampton, FPL managers are going to flock to him. They're really going to go for him. Wow, 6.1 million for a Man City attacker who gets these big hauls. The thing is, and this has already happened several times this season and last season, to be fair, as well. Foden will play a full game, score maybe 11 points, and then he won't break the 2-point barrier for the next 8 consecutive games, mostly because he doesn't even start most games. And when he comes on from the bench, that's a nice 1-pointer guaranteed for you, blocking any players that you do have on your bench. He's one of this season's biggest trolls, in my opinion, because he lures people in with these big scores and then disappoints for weeks and weeks on end after that. More recently, since his Game Week 24 8-pointer, Man City have played 4 games. Foden has scored 2 points total in those 4 games. That's 10 points over 5 games. Or if you're an absolute maths whiz like me, 2 points per game, yeah. I know that's a very easy sum, I was just making a joke, but this is pretty tragic. This is pretty tragic stats. Phil Trolden, fantastic football player, desperately deserves more minutes, but as long as Pep the Fraud is at the helm at Man City, he's kind of got to be an absolute must-sell. And yes, I do mean ahead of the Fulham game because I still think Fulham are a good defence, and you won't change my mind on that one. On to some keeps, and we're going to start with Ollie Watkins. He's kind of been disappointing in a way recently. I have to kind of admit to that. I brought him in. I've been kind of disappointed with his points returns. Aston Villa in general have kind of disappointed a little bit, and that's kind of a lot of it's to do with the lack of the creative presence of Jack Grealish. Now, Watkins is not a fantastic finisher. He does often need some higher quality chances presented to him if he's going to get those goals. He hasn't had those high quality chances, but he's still shooting at a rate of twice per game. He's kind of hit the crossbar twice, so perhaps he's been a bit unlucky not to score. He has been reasonably creative, to be fair. So over his past 5 games, 10 shots, 7 in the box, 0.73 expected goals, 6 key passes, 3 big chances created, and 1.7 expected assists. Now, there's 2 reasons I think Watkins should be kept. One is that he's guaranteed a 2-pointer in Game Week 29 during a blank game week where he plays Spurs. Don't overestimate Spurs either. They do concede goals, and who better to score or assist than Watkins? He is involved in a lot of their goals. And the other reason is in Game Week 28, Watkins and Aston Villa play against Newcastle, and according to expected goals conceded, Newcastle are the 7th worst defence in the league, and in terms of expected clean sheets, Newcastle are the 2nd worst defence in the league, which kind of suggests they will concede maybe 1 goal per game, maybe at least 1 goal per game. Again, according to the goal involvement stats, Ollie Watkins is the player most likely at Villa to be involved in a goal. So, I do think he's worth holding on to at least for the next couple of game weeks. My next keep is Son. This is a really strange one. I was checking out the stats, and I can't believe how many people are selling Son, but maybe I'll try and address that in this video. Son is quite literally the most creative player in the Premier League right now. 2.86 expected assists in his past 5 games. That's by far the best in the league. For reference, the 2nd best in the league is Sigurdsson. Sigurdsson with 1.54 expected assists, which is pretty much half Son's, and that's the 2nd best. So Son is clear in that regard. 14 key passes, which is the highest again. An insane 6 big chances created. Again, double 2nd place. So many big chances created. And his shooting, it's okay too. 8 shots, 3 in the box, and 1 big chance in his past 5. That's not horrendous. So why are people selling Son in their droves? And according to the stats, a lot of people really are selling. I can't believe it. Well, I think it's because people's memories are fairly short. We kind of know this about a lot of FPL managers. They have very, very short memories, and the 11-point haul versus Burnley, that's kind of already been forgotten, and a 5-pointer versus Crystal Palace, that's solid, but it looks pathetic when you compare it to sort of Kane and Bale in Game Week 27. So, according to the stats, the most transferred in midfielders by far are Bale and Mount this game week. Mount, he's got some good fixtures. He's got a good fixture against Leeds next. Does blank in Game Week 29, but then he plays West Brom in Game Week 30. Unless you've got a free hit plan, I'm not convinced Mount outscores Son over the next 3 game weeks when he only plays 2 games. Or if you really want Mount over Son, you could easily just wait until Game Week 30. Then you only need, otherwise you will need Mount to literally outscore Son in one game against Leeds when Son plays twice against Arsenal and then Aston Villa. I think Son, I'd be pretty convinced to say that over the 2 games, Son definitely outscores Mount in one game. But, you know, stranger things have happened, but it just seems like it's a very strange transfer. The other transfer, you know, Son to Bale that perhaps people are doing, that kind of seems strange to me as well. It kind of reminds me of last season. People were constantly swapping between Salah and Mane, depending on who happened to score the most points in the previous week. It didn't work then. I'm not convinced it's going to work now. I kind of feel like this is the kind of situation where you stick with one. You just pick one and stick with them. Bale is probably not going to outscore Son by that much. They're pretty even, really. And this is kind of what I like to call a sideways move, going from Son to Bale. So I'm not sure I can recommend it. And there's possibly a lot of more points to be gained just by using your transfer elsewhere in your team. I just think selling Son is a bit harsh and not really looking at the full picture. He's definitely not on my sell list. And he arguably should be on your buy list as well if you don't already have him. So keep Son. On to some avoids, and we're going to start off with James Ward-Prowse. And I know you guys always are like, Dan, you are crazy with your avoids. Your avoids are always crazy. I don't know if I agree with that. Let me try and convince you. So James Ward-Prowse already has 11 points in Game Week 27 with a game still to play. FPL managers are flocking to him ahead of Game Week 28. At 5.9 million, he must be an insane player to pick up for your team, right? Wrong. This is a classic example of FPL points being incredibly deceiving. Ward-Prowse kind of got 2 points for playing, obviously, 5 points for a goal, 1 point for a clean sheet, and all 3 bonus points. There's 1 goal contribution in there. Let's just focus on that for a start. The goal was a penalty that he wouldn't even have been taking if Ings was on the pitch. Ings didn't get injured. Ward-Prowse doesn't even take the penalty. You know, the issue here is that the shot from the penalty. And I understand, yeah, that's great, he got a penalty goal, but that was his only shot in the entire match. He didn't even take another shot in the entire match. He didn't even create a single chance for any of his teammates in that entire game. And this is against, statistically, the worst defence in the league in Sheffield United. They have so many chances against them. And Ward-Prowse didn't manage a single shot outside the penalty. He didn't create a single chance. That's not good at all. Up next, Southampton play Brighton, and that's one of the better defences in the league. So knowing Southampton's form, they will struggle to even get into Brighton's box, let alone get a penalty awarded to them. And a penalty or a set piece, that's going to be the only way that Ward-Prowse gets a goal contribution, because he is contributing so little in terms of what we like in FPL from open play. Ward-Prowse is a player you bring in, you know, in desperate hope for a bit of luck. Sometimes that luck comes in. For the other 7, 8, 9 games in a row, Ward-Prowse is the biggest 2-point merchant going because he doesn't contribute from open play. Now, luck, I know, is an important part of the game. You know, it's really important that you have a bit of luck on your side. But the way to get the edge over other FPL players is by trying to play the odds, make predictions based on the past, and depend actually less on luck. Southampton are in bad form, we know this. They have injury problems. They have a bad Game Week 28 fixture. They've got no Game Week 29 fixture. I don't want to see you guys getting sucked into a trap of a good FPL score that is kind of a little bit misleading. So, an avoid for me. And we'll finish off our avoids with Jesse Lingard. Let's keep this fairly short and sweet. Yes, I love Lingard. I think he's a really good player to have in your team. I really want him. If you've already got him, definitely keep him. And yes, I do look a little bit like him. But he quite literally cannot play in Game Week 28 because West Ham play his parent club, Manchester United. He's falling in price. He's not rising in price. There is quite literally no reason on God's green earth to transfer in Lingard. So why he's one of the most transferred in players already this game week, that just seems like an anti-FPL level of dumbfounding. Guys, it's time to stop transferring him in. Stop transferring in Lingard. Just wait till next game week. Save your transfer. Just wait. You gain nothing from transferring him in right now. I'm telling you. So let's wrap it up with a summary. So try and keep your eyes on players who actually play in Game Week 29 still. You know, we've only got this week and next week to pad out our Game Week 29 squads. Some of you guys may only have 4 or 5 players playing in that game week, so it's probably a good idea to boost that up a little bit if you can, and if it's a sensible transfer, in the wider scope of things as well. I do think Spurs attack are really good to go for, and Brighton defenders might be worth a punt in the short term too. And don't be too afraid to sell Salah if you have a clear idea of another premium that you want to bring into your team. You don't need Salah. You don't need him. So just don't be too scared about transferring him out. So that is the end of the video. If you did enjoy what you saw today, please do give a like on the video. It really does help the channel out. And subscribe, of course, if you're new around here. Please do check out OneFootball if you fancy it. Link in the description. Also in the description, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter. You can join my mini league. You can help support the channel by pressing the join button if you like. All kinds of options for you there, guys. But other than that, guys, I'm going to see you on tomorrow for another video, or maybe the next day for a team selection video. Not looking forward to that video, but it's whatever, guys. You know, we've got to do it. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. See you later, mates. Bye-bye.